Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. 1 year ago today, the world learned the name George Floyd. His killing by a now convicted former Minneapolis police officer forced this country, forced this city to face issues of race, equity, brutality, and accountability in policing. As a matter of fact, it was a year ago Monday that thousands of Savannahans, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, young at heart, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, and Muslim, all braved the heat, wearing masks from all corners of our community, gathered in front of this building in a peaceful display of outrage, of indignation, and in a collective chorus of unity and a clarion call for change. I said that day, and I say again today, 1 year later, that George Floyd's death must be more than a moment, that it must spark a movement. And many cities, including Savannah, took this call seriously. That moment sparked movements that have enraged and empowered and engaged and empowered our community in unprecedented ways, and has made Savannah better and more responsive. That moment sparked a movement called Savannah Cares, Citizens Accountability and Review of Emergency Services. The Savannah Cares Task Force worked collaboratively with the community and with the police department to make meaningful changes to the police policy and procedure manuals to enhance what is good and to update what was needed. It's important to note that as an accredited, federally accredited and a state accredited law enforcement agency, we have many of these tools already in place. But at the end of this day, it was 12 interim recommendations, 10 of which have been adopted by the Savannah Police Department. That moment, 1 year ago, sparked a movement called Real Savannah, Racial Equity and Leadership. And as you know, the Real Savannah Task Force continues to study issues of disparity and equity in our city and to improve accessibility and outcomes for all that live here. In Savannah, we commit to having the courageous, sometimes uncomfortable conversations needed to make our city the place that we want it to be to live, work, and play. This city, well, this week, our city employees have, many have been working remotely, have started to return to their city workplaces. A phased reopening of city facilities and programs to the public will begin next week. This week, the Chatham County Health Department and the CORE organization will take over operations at the Savannah Mass Vaccination Clinic at the Savannah Civic Center. And we appreciate Hospice Savannah and their partnership in making this site a reality, and we are thankful that the Coastal Health District will keep this central location open. The Civic Center site will now offer Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson vaccines beginning this Thursday, May 27th, and the clinic hours will be the same, open on Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 4:00 p.m. The Chatham County Health Department and CORE are also hosting 2 pop-up vaccine clinics this week. Tomorrow, you can get a COVID shot from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Park Place Outreach, located at 514 East Henry Street. On Saturday, you can get a vaccine from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Conquest Insurance, located at 1024 U.S. Highway 80, Suite 117 in Pooler. Both Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson vaccines will be available at both clinics. You can pre-register at gachd.org/vaccine, gachd.org/vaccine, and walk-ins are also welcome. The vaccination clinic at the Georgia Southern Armstrong Center is open on the south side Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We want everyone, we need everyone to know the facts and to get their vax. And the best way to get to what our new normal is going to be is for us to be vaccinated. So we know that this weekend, the Memorial Day weekend, is the unofficial start of summer, and we continue to expect lots of visitors and locals to enjoy our city during the long weekend. We continue to monitor and evaluate closely our COVID status, and although most indicators indicate that our numbers are improving, we remain cautiously optimistic about our situation this summer. Simply put, our hospitalization numbers are dropping. Our community transmission index has been below 100 for the last 13 days. However, that being said, according to the CDC, we have a transmission index of 72, which is considered substantial community spread. At this point, approximately 31% of Chatham County residents are fully vaccinated, meaning that 2 out of 3 of us, most of us, still are not vaccinated. And approximately 36% of us are partially vaccinated. After discussing the situation with my Savannah Medical Dream Team, as I call them, Savannah's mask order will remain in place through 11:59 p.m. on Memorial Day, May the 31st. And we'll see where we are next week. I thank those businesses that are requiring masks to protect their employees and their customers, and I continue to ask those that are not vaccinated to protect themselves and others by wearing masks, washing hands, and watching their distance. We continue to encourage moms in our city to participate in a new effort to curb gun violence in our community. Local moms who understand what it's like to lose a child to gun violence are partnering with the city to share 10 ways every mother in Savannah can help keep their children safe this summer. Whether they're 1 or whether they're 101, is still your child. And so we are sharing these tips on social media, and we're partnering with local news outlets to ask parents if they know where their children are each night at 11 p.m. And you've seen that on WTOC, you've seen it on WSAV, you've heard it on E93 radio, also on 103.9 and WRUU, and thank you for that. When you see these posts, we're just asking for you to share them, to amplify these reminders that mothers everywhere in our city have a critical role, a crucial role, a foundational role to play in our city in helping to curb gun violence. And don't forget to use the hashtags 10 Ways, 100 Days SAV, and of course, Savannah Strong. Together, we can help provide accountability and hopefully reduce these senseless acts of violence. We were pleased to learn that the Savannah Police Department identified a suspect in a homicide that occurred earlier this month at Bricktown Flats Apartments. Extremely disappointed to hear that it was a 16-year-old. But again, enlightened by the fact that he was turned in by his father. And so I want to publicly thank that father. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. I mean, in the end, if you're engaged with people that you know are doing the wrong thing, I think that you're just as accountable as the person that actually committed the act. So to that father, to whose name I do not know, I want to thank that father for taking responsibility to bring his son in. And that's the type of behavior that we're talking about. Parents taking charge. And so each week over the next 100 days, I will be sharing information about an unsolved homicide in our city in hopes that someone comes forward to give Savannah police the information they need to remove a murderer from our streets. On the morning of July the 11th, 2015, 38-year-old Ricardo Ricky Morris was the victim of a shooting on LaRoche Avenue and died from his injuries. He was last seen with his family the night before. His car was found torched in Garden City the same morning. Ricky is survived by his family, including his 8 children. 8 children. 8 children that won't have their daddy around at graduations. 8 children won't have their daddy to walk them down the aisle or be at a sports event with them. 8 children are missing their father. And although this happened almost 6 months ago, Ricky's family will tell you that they feel the pain as if it happened yesterday. So we know that somebody knows something. And we know that if you know something and you don't say anything, you might as well have pulled the trigger too, because you're causing this family additional pain. So if you know something about this case, you can be like that father and bring that person in. You can call the SPD Violent Crimes Tip Line at 912-525-3124, 912-525-3124, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 912-234-2020. As you know, tipsters remain anonymous, and they may qualify for a cash reward up to $2,500. You could also call my office at 651, what's my number? 6444, 651-6444, and leave the tip. Again, we just want to get it. We just want to get it solved. We want to bring Ricky's family some accountability. City Youth Summer Camps start in 2 weeks, and registration is still open. The city will offer summer enrichment, art, recreation, and athletic camps from June the 7th through July the 30th. You can find details about each camp, including ages served, camp hours, and locations at savannahga.gov/enrichment. savannahga.gov/enrichment. savannahga.gov/art camp, A-R-T camp, and savannahga.gov/rec camp, R-E-C camp. The City of Savannah wants our residents to reimagine recreation beyond what we have today and what we're looking forward to in the future. As you know, Recreation Reimagined is a City of Savannah initiative to improve, standardize, and reimagine our city's recreation and leisure services, programs, and services. And you can visit savannahga.gov/rec reimagine survey to share your thoughts, and 912-651-6520 for more information. This is the last week that you can take a survey to help shape Savannah's first ever affordable housing plan. Over the last several months, the Housing Savannah Task Force has identified major challenges and potential solutions to help us to make housing affordable for Savannahans. You can learn more and take the survey through May 30th at savannahga.gov/housing Savannah. savannahga.gov/housing Savannah. As a recap to last council meeting, we approved a 5-year equity lease agreement with Enterprise to make our fleet younger, greener, and more efficient. So under this deal, we will lease about 300 vehicles a year for the first year, including 21 electric vehicles and 91 hybrids, reducing our fuel consumption by 20%. And this is the biggest move toward electric vehicles in our city's history. Enterprise will handle the maintenance of these vehicles, allowing our fleet services department to focus on our heavy equipment and emergency vehicles. We also approved $350,000 for the Youth Summer Work Experience Program and $200,000 for year-round adult job training to help prepare and advance our local workforce, and that's through WorkSource. That's a commercial today, WorkSource Georgia. And finally, we renewed a contract to repair aging curbs, sidewalks, and cobblestones throughout our city, including on River Street. This week, we have our evening council meetings. We are working to try to find ways to start bringing our council meetings back into City Hall. There are some physical things that has to be done, as you've recognized. This has been sort of a construction place, and actually the pandemic has allowed us a wonderful opportunity to be able to do construction on our 115-year-old mothership. She's showing her age and wear, and so they've been doing work, and as you see lines and things, there's dust all over the place. Ultimately, we would like to at least fit these with shields and a variety of other accoutrements to facilitate our meetings. So we're working on doing that. On this council meeting, we're hoping to approve a plastics-free resolution for the City of Savannah organization, which will really help to highlight our desire to move towards against using single-use plastics. Again, we're serious about our environment. We cannot preach what we don't do, and so there are some things we won't be able to do right now. It comes to mind is printer cartridges comes to my mind. Until someone comes up with the technology, we have to use that single use. But I think there are things that we can do. And again, in the coming weeks, we'll be announcing a initiative to ask our city to stop using or reduce the use of single-use plastics, particularly plastic bags, straws. Then we'll move on to styrofoam. Again, we have to be bold and courageous when it relates to this. And this will be kind of the predecessor to us ultimately making it mandatory across our city. So that ends my prepared remarks. We're looking forward to, and Sean, if you want to come up, you can, if you want to do it. Okay. We're looking forward to having the largest ship to ever visit this hemisphere or something coming here, and I'm trying to find ways to get on it. If they let me drive it, I'll even drive it. But it's going to be hot this summer. We're already finding that out, and I'm charging city staff that we have to find ways to be the just and caring community. And so I'm asking staff to figure out ways for us to find heating and cooling centers across our city. Because the fact of the matter is, when it's hot, it is hot. And so we recognize that we have to have places for people just to go, to catch cool air and to get water. It's a public health hazard, and so I'm glad that Marty Johnston of my team is here, and she's going to be working with city staff to help us to make that happen. We're going to be a just and caring community, and hopefully by the time winter comes, when we have those really frigid days, we'll have a place to be able, that people can come in and get some heat. That's what a just and caring community does. So I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
So I wanted to touch first on the anniversary of the killing of George Floyd. First, from your personal experience, serving in office in Savannah, how profound was this sort of awakening in our community and across the nation? And then this might be more of a question for Chief Minter. But when you talk about those improvements, you had said the police force was already implementing some of those things. But what have you seen tangibly that has changed, since we marched on May 31st last year?
Well, I think that for me, I was full of emotion that day because I'm a black man, and as I said, I can't shake that. Don't want to. So I certainly resonate with the experience. I've had very negative encounters with police. And this is before elected office and sometimes even during. And I've served in a law enforcement capacity, and I understand law enforcement officers just want to go home at the end of the day. And then I recognize a community that was mad, that was upset. And then the red herring of a pandemic, that for once our world was quiet enough where this was not news, and then in other news, everybody was paying attention. And people singularly said we had enough. So for us, it created not only a moment, but it was a call to action for us. And you had myself as being a mayor, you had a majority of city council as African American, you have a police chief that's African American. That we have a responsibility for public safety, but it's the way you do public safety. And I appreciated Chief Mentor, and particularly our command staff and officers, because there were marches every day, and they were out there in front, marching along with them. For us, it meant, what do we do in our policies? And again, it was exhaustive. I mean, the Savannah Cares group, exhaustively looked at all of our policies. I mean, just look at what we're doing. And so, as a result, we don't have warning shots anymore. Again, because of that, issues as it relates to any type of string or hold. About issues about how do we involve the community in terms of them reviewing. And CARES will soon issue their final report. You remember for months, Alex, we gave people open mic to come and talk about their experiences, both good and bad, with our police department. And the police department had to sit and let their community that they serve critique them. And so I think it was trying for them, but it was necessary for us. And so as a result, every police officer now, I think when they're engaging with people, I'm sure at the back of their mind, George Floyd is on their mind. When they're talking about executing use of force, George Floyd becomes a standard. When it comes to issues, as the issue in South Carolina about not deploying your body-worn camera. Again, now we're talking about muscle memory. And again, I think, as a credit to our police department, we had body-worn cameras before they became popular. So I think for us, it's a new way of doing things, but it's really enhancing and drilling down those things that are important. I think as a result of that, we've really moved from traditional policing. I mean, the chief will tell you about our behavioral health unit, about our move even more aggressively towards Savannah Impact, our need to be able to ensure that people who have post-traumatic stress disorders, those people who have substance abuse issues, those that are homeless, that we're treating them for their presenting issue and not as a criminal justice response. And so you will see a police department, and Chief and I have talked extensively about this, that will continue to morph, where you will see a variety of people doing a variety of things. They might work for the police department, but they're not all police officers. And so we'll use police officers where a police response is absolutely required. And so again, for us, this is partly new ground, and I think the chief will tell you, even in the police diaspora, we're doing stuff that many departments have not even done yet. So we're trying to move there, and of course, it's going to require some flexibility, and it's going to require some courageous decisions by our council and by our city manager and our police department to be able to reimagine what that police is for. We need police. And I know people will say, get rid of the police. No, when somebody victimizes me, not only do I expect to call the police, I expect them to come quickly. And so I think we have a responsibility for that. But in the meantime, it's how we do what we do. Thank you.
And when it comes to the mask issue, you seem like you were intentionally vague compared to the last times you extended the mask mandate. You usually give us a week in advance. You kind of told us we're expecting to extend it. So I have to pry a little bit. What does that mean?
I'll leave that up to you. The current mask mandate expires the 31st of May at 11:59 p.m. And again, that's all we know at this point. I will tell you again, I met with our medical professionals yesterday, and now it will be almost a day-by-day approach. As I said, on one end, our indicators are positive. On the other end, we're not vaccinated the way we should be. So I'm purposely being vague because I don't want to move too fast. And as you know, I usually would just go ahead and extend it now. And I'm purposely not doing that. because I'm trying to get us to a place, hopefully, where our numbers are favorable enough where we can lift the mask mandate. I'm hoping to get there.
Right. When we talk about getting vaccinated.
Good catch, though.
Oh, I know you by now. We're here every Tuesday. So when it comes to vaccinated, people in Chatham County, this CDC recommendations about this honor system, when you talk about that, I mean, you have to have a level of trust in your community, and to not, lift the mask mandate because of the vaccinations, because you're not sure who you can trust. I mean, that might be a little insulting to the community. Do you think you can trust them, or is it about visitors only?
No, this is about our citizens. 2 out of 3 Savannahans or Chatham Countyans are not vaccinated. That means most of us are not vaccinated. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, most of us are not vaccinated. Now, if 2 out of 3 of us were vaccinated, then I think you could see the honor system. But in this case, the numbers are that most of us are not vaccinated. So, do we trust? I mean, I don't think it's a matter of trust. I think it's a matter of public safety. And for us, I think on you all's coverage highlighted businesses that are asking folks still to wear those masks. I don't think it's the issue of trust at all. Of course, we trust our citizens. But on the other end of it, since you mentioned it, we have a bunch of people coming into our community from all over the place. So again, we're just taking it one day at a time, and hopefully we'll be at a place by this time next week where we'll be able to, whether we're going to extend. I think that if we did extend, it would probably be week to week. So I think our month to month right now is over. I could say that. I think that. Thank you. Well, Sean is usually last, so it's, okay.
Thanks. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I did want to touch on.
Here's the phone.
Yeah, one unrelated item. Actually, I don't think I heard it this morning, but there's a move in the community by a group who wants to see one of Savannah Squares renamed, Calhoun Square. Is that a possibility down the road? I mean, what kind of process would have to happen? Is that a city decision, a council decision? What move could be made?
Well, I think ultimately it is a city council decision. There are steps that it would have to go through, probably the Historic Sites and Monuments Commission as well. It's actually interesting because I've been on council for 16 years, and we just don't rename squares. I think that for our purposes, as I understand the process, city squares for us are parks. We treat them as parks, and in order to rename a park, you need 51% of the adjacent property owners to agree to a change. And so the petition, as I understand it, would not be responsive to that, because I don't believe 51% has signed that petition. I think that for us, we have to be very careful, because I agree sometimes that things need to be renamed, but I don't want to create a cancel culture either. We're a city of history, and in the case of Calhoun, I believe, we need to call and remember him for what he was. And that was a segregationist, a racist, and I don't ever want that to be lost. And I think sometimes if you just move people's names out of that, we forget. And as a society, we go back to that. So again, it's not at our level yet. It's not within my purview as of yet. It's a petition that has to be deemed responsive. At this point, I don't believe that it is. And I believe Ms. Gunn indicated that she knew it probably wasn't. And so, after it is, then we'll have a community conversation. Because I think as a city of history, I want to resist the urge to rename Savannah. Somebody said, oh, we shouldn't call it Savannah anymore. We should call it, something else. And so, again, I think it just has to be a very slow, very deliberate, very thorough process. And I'm ready to engage in that when the time comes.
Can you also just hammer home the points you brought up during your remarks the significance of the parent in that homicide case coming forward. And turning his son into police.
I mean, again, and the strangest part about it is, and I might have been speaking with the chief last night about it, my parents would have turned me in. And I mean, no doubt in my mind that my father would have been dragging me and say, here he is, and I'm not coming to visit him either. And I think, again, for us, part of the paradigm shift is the recognition that police don't keep people safe. Communities keep people safe. And when we get parents to stand up, and we've been focusing on mothers, and by Father's Day we're going to have some challenges for fathers, but when, I mean, and I just applaud the courage of this dad, because he could have easily said, you know what, no, not going to say anything about it. But the fact of the matter was that he brought his son, I think speaks volumes to what we're trying to get here in Savannah. Parents to be able to say, right is right, wrong is wrong, I don't care who it is, and if you do wrong, I'm going to bring you in. To that end, knowing how our violence perpetuates itself in the community in terms of retaliation, I mean, he might have also saved his son's life. And so we'll see where it goes. But again, it's that type of support that our police need to be able to help close these cases. So we did it for him. I want us to do it now for Ricky.
Thanks.
Thank you. Dave? Good? All right. Well, the chief is here if you have any questions for him, and I think they're indicating they do. We do? All right, so we do. So I'm going to go ahead and let the chief have the stage. Again, thank you all for what we're trying to do over the next days and weeks of our city. It's been a really long 12 plus months. And if you would look at where we were Memorial Day last year, we can say thank God we've come a long way. And we're still here, and we're still Savannah strong. Have a good day. Thank you. Wear those masks.